Do come in. Don't mind the charts. They're tracking the latest plague statistics. Fascinating, really. I have spent the better part of this morning reading the official military records of 1932 Australia, and I have come to a conclusion. Human beings should not be allowed to have buttons, let alone machine guns. Now, you've heard the rumors. You've seen the memes. You think it is a joke. It is not a joke. Australia, a continent built on the back of things that want to kill you, officially declared war on a bird, a flightless bird. One that looks like a feather duster someone gave wigs to. And the best part? The birds won. Grab your tea, settle in, because history is about to get deeply, personally humiliating. So, the year is 1932. The Great Depression has its teeth in everyone. Farmers in Western Australia, already broke, already miserable, are trying to scrap out a living out of dust and stubbornness. And then, one spring, 20,000 emus show up. 20,000. Now let me paint you a picture of what an emu actually is. It's essentially a 6-foot, 120-pound dinosaur with an attitude problem and legs that could outpace a horse. They didn't just eat the wheat, they dismantled the fences. They trampled crops like they had a personal vendetta against agriculture, and they had no natural predators in the area because, well, Australia already used up all its good predators on spiders. So, the farmers did what any logical, rational person would do. They asked the Minister of Defense for machine guns. Machine guns for birds. And the minister, a man named Major Sir George Pierce, who I can only assume had never met a bird, said, "Yes, this is exactly what the army is for." He sent a major, a real military major, and 2 soldiers with Lewis machine guns to defeat flightless poultry. Now this is the part where I remind you that grown adults in suits in a parliament building approved this. Enter Major G.P.W. Meredith, a real man with a real military title who genuinely believed this would be a turkey shoot. It was not. The first encounter, November 2nd, 1932, Meredith's men spotted a flock of roughly 1,000 emus. They set up the guns, they opened fire, they killed about 12. 12 out of 1,000. The birds just ran. They can run 30 miles an hour, by the way. The machine guns couldn't track them. Major Meredith later said, and I am quoting the official military report here, if we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world. He was contemplating the enemy's ability not to die. But it gets worse. Oh, it gets so much worse. The emus developed tactics. I'm not making this up. The official report said the emus organized into small units with a leader bird that kept watch while the other birds fed. They split into smaller groups when fired upon. They were out maneuvering the Australian army. A bird looked at a trained military officer and said, "You know what? I think we should flank left." And it worked. So they tried again. They mounted a machine gun on a truck. Because if you can't outshoot the birds, you certainly can outrun them in a truck. On a bumpy, cratered Australian outback. Right. The truck couldn't go fast enough. The gunner couldn't aim because he was bouncing around like a toddler on sugar. The report described the birds as evasive and almost contemptuous. Contemptuous! The birds were mocking them. After a month, a full month, the war was over. The army had fired approximately 10,000 rounds of ammunition. Total emu casualties? Maybe 900. Out of 20,000. That's the 4.5% kill rate against birds. Birds without guns. Birds without the brain the size of a walnut. The Minister of Defense had to stand up in Parliament in front of other human adults and admit that the Australian army had been defeated by emus. Birds that didn't even have a strategy. They had legs and indifference. So the next time you feel like you've completely failed something, truly, genuinely failed, just remember, at least you didn't waste 10,000 bullets trying to shoot a bird that wasn't even looking at you. And at least you weren't Major Meredith, lying awake at night, knowing the emus won. If you want more history that makes you want to lie down in a dark room, just subscribe to The Hatter. I have a whole list of people who should have never, ever been in charge. And next time, we're going to talk about the Pope who put a corpse on trial. Yes, a corpse. In a courtroom with a defense attorney. It got weird. See you at the tea party.